Y'all, you know what? It's springtime, and I love this time of year. How about you guys? I think I'm not the only one that likes that. Just the changes and the flowers and the aromas. There's a lady across the street grows honeysuckle, and it just fills the air, especially early in the morning. Fresh mowed grass. I love that smell. I get to missing it over the wintertime. Beautiful smell. Let me tell you what else I like spring for. Baseball. Yeah, that's right. I'm not as fastidious a fan as some of you guys are, but I love a good baseball game. Love to keep up. I watch the Astro stats every once in a while, anticipate the season. Love going to Astro games. I really enjoy that. And one of the things that I really like about professional ball games, by the way, I'm looking forward to the Skeeters getting started out here, this minor league team out. Their entryway is less than a mile from my driveway, so I will be making it over to see some of the Skeeters games. But I love to go there, and one of the things that I like to see are these kids, everywhere from about this tall and smaller, come into the game, professional ball game, with their baseball gloves on their hands. You know? Now, what are they doing that for? They're not even going to put a foot out there on the field, are they? What is all of that about? Well, you know what it's about. They're hoping on the off chance that maybe the stars will just be aligned, and they'll be able to snag a foul ball, a fly ball of some kind. But the odds of that are like, wow, what, are you kidding me? But let me tell you about something that happened a year ago, actually almost a year ago, July of 2011, out in Phoenix, Arizona. A little 12-year-old boy named Ian was at the game with his daddy watching their beloved Diamondbacks play. They were playing the Milwaukee Brewers. And as Ian was sitting there with his glove in his hand, by the way, this is all captured on national television. As he was sitting there with his little glove in his hand, here came a foul ball. I mean, it was coming right for him, and his heart just jumped up in his throat. He thought, this is it now. This is the moment I've been waiting for. This is the grand prize for going to a professional ball game. Here it is. And somehow the spin on the ball made it sort of take a nosedive. It really landed about 3 or 4 rows down below him and took a hop. But he saw where the hop was going, and I mean, he was Johnny on the spot. And he got that glove out there, and it just tipped. It just tipped the ball. It just kind of slowed it down. He couldn't quite get it. And the moment of a lifetime was gone. An usher snagged it. When he turned around, the usher saw little Ian's face. I mean, he was crestfallen. Can you just imagine? And then that usher flipped that ball over to Ian and just gave it to him. I mean, he lit up like a Christmas tree. And then he looked at that ball, just grinning from ear to ear, and in the same movement, all of this on TV, walked down 4 rows and gave that ball away to another little boy, just a little bit younger than he was. I mean, unbelievable. What in the world would possess him to do that? Reporters came up after the game and asked him, said, what were you thinking, man? What was going on? And he said several things. I don't know. He said it just felt right. I mean, the ball went there first, and that little guy probably wanted it as much as I did. It went there first. It just seemed like the right thing to do. Hang on to that phrase. It just seemed like the right thing to do. By the way, as all of this was unfolding, there are 2 guys that called the games for the D-backs, Mark Grace and Darren Sutton. And as all of this was unfolding, and I tried to find a YouTube video of it and couldn't find one, but as it was all unfolding, here's what they said. Darren speaks up first. He says, are you kidding me? This kid's going to do this? Mark responds and he says, that's big time, my friend, right there. That's big time. Sutton says, I can't believe I just witnessed that. Mark says, that is awesome, dude. And then Sutton says, you, young man, are a star. For his generosity, he was ushered up into the booth there with Sutton and Grace, had his 15 seconds of fame on national television as they interviewed him. He got free tickets to a future game, and he got an autographed bat by his favorite Diamondback player. All of that because of his generosity. Now, why am I talking about that? Because it's baseball season? Am I telling you that because it's baseball? No, it's not about baseball. It's about his generosity. What he did because it was just the right thing to do. And the reward that he received. Generosity doesn't always have that kind of speedy reward, does it? But that generosity paid off for him. And we're talking about it this morning because that's what our year is about. Here's our year right here. Cultivating the joy of generosity. Now, we're not talking about it every single Sunday, right? But that's our theme for the entire year. We spent several weeks talking about the nature of God, how generous He is. He's a God who doesn't not stingy with His love and His grace, and it overflows. It just overflows, even in creation, everything, all of it. He just abounds, that generosity of God. And we are a people that want to be like our God. We want to be generous just like our Father is. Generosity. We spent about 4 weeks talking about financial generosity. In fact, there's a lot of us here that are on a plan. We're trying to help our lives come up with a plan where we can be generous, financially generous to God as we give back. And by the way, it takes a plan, really, because if you just kind of leave it up to yourself, greed is really what pops out. Generosity you got to plan in order for things to be generous. Those of you that signed that little page about creating a plan for your life, I see the elders passing those lists among themselves all the time. They're praying for you. They're praying for the church. Not because of money and a need that the church might have, though I'm not going to lie to you. We can always find ways to spend money, right? But that's not what it's all about. It's because they as our shepherds, are shepherding us. It's something that we need to be about. Generosity is what God does things with us in terms of generosity. We're not going to be talking about that kind of generosity this morning. We will talk about that again in May, and then at the end of the summer, maybe the first of the fall, and at the end of the fall, we're going to talk about it again because we are looking to create that kind of financial generosity in our lives. But this morning, we're looking at page 2, as Paul Harvey used to say. All right, another kind of generosity. It was something that Richard Fancher and Rod Fike introduced last week in my absence, and I want to say thank you to them for stepping up to the plate and filling in for me at the last moment. In fact, there was an interview last week with Doug and Lisa Simpson. They are a living testimony of being generous with our time and generous with our faith. We want to be generous like God and share our time and share our faith. There's all kinds of ways to do that, y'all. All kinds of ways, whether it's service or it's outreach or it's evangelism. What we're primarily going to be looking at over the next couple of weeks, this week and next week, is that generosity in terms of outreach and in terms of evangelism. And the real question behind all of that, the real question is, will you be generous? Will you be generous and share this beautiful blessing that God has given you, that God has shared with you? And the question up behind that one, the real question is, and I want you to think about this just for a second, is what are we here for? What are we, the church of God? What are we here for? Why did we come here this morning? What are we really all about? Now, the short answer to that is lots of things, right? When you go through scriptures, lots of things that we're about, all kinds of activities and all kinds of things that we need to be doing and all kinds of things that we focus on. But you know what? What I want us to do is take just a moment and take a look at something that Jesus says that really draws it down into a fine focus. It gives a purpose and it gives meaning to everything that we do. And here's that passage. It's Matthew 28, 18 through 20. And those of you that have been around the block a time or two, as soon as you heard Matthew 28, verses 18 through 20, what did you think of? What words came to your mind? The Great Commission. That's exactly right. And probably what came to our minds, a lot of us, is all those times that you've heard sermons down through the years that made you feel guilty, about sharing your faith and about maybe door knocking and maybe all kinds of things. I'm not here to talk about that kind of stuff this morning. What we want to see is God's will and God's heart in this matter. What is God saying? Now, here it is, Matthew 28, 18 through 20. Hear the words. Jesus begins to speak, and he says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Do not let those words get by you." All authority has been given to me on heaven and on earth. You know what that is? That's a duh statement. Duh. You know why? Because the guy that says that has just been 40 days earlier was raised from the dead. He'd been executed by Roman executioners, folks, and they know what they're doing. They had witnessed his death, they had witnessed his burial, and they had witnessed his resurrection. He had come back to life. I don't need somebody to tell me they got all authority when they've come back to life. I made up my mind a long time ago, when I find somebody that walks out of a grave, I'm going to listen to every word that he says. You know what? I don't have to wait any longer, because somebody about 2,000 years ago did exactly that. And he stands up and he states the obvious. He says, in case you guys have not connected yet, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. I am the man. I am the one There's no one else that you turn to. There's no one else that you look to. I am it. Then look at the very first word of verse 19. Therefore. You know what that means? That means that what he says in verses 19 and 20 follows right on the heels of what he says in verse 18. Because all authority has been given to me, I got something I want to tell you. He speaks. This is the last words that he speaks in Matthew's gospel, that he speaks to his church, that he speaks to his disciples. He says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go into all the world. I want you to go to every nation. And I want you to make disciples out of everybody that you come into contact with. I want you to baptize them. By the way, don't let anybody tell you you don't need to be baptized as a part of God's plan. You can't get out of there with a tire tool. Baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe everything that I've ever commanded you. Did you get all that? Teach, baptize, and teach. Make disciples. I want you to duplicate yourself. Here's the end purpose of what we're about. It's about duplicating ourselves. What God has done in our hearts, that's what we do in the hearts of folks. It's not just foreign nations. By the way, did you realize the United States of America is the unchurched nation? You know, we got countries sending missionaries to the United States now. I'm not kidding you. You can't make this stuff up, y'all. They're sending it to us because of our descent, because of our departure. Yeah. Go into all the world, everywhere. Be generous with your time, be generous with your faith, and share it. That's what we're about. Now, let me tell you what that means. That means that our end goal and our end purpose is not feeding the poor. We're going to do that. Jesus did that, right? We're going to do that because it's a reflection of the heart of God and the nature of God. But that's not the real reason we're here. That's a means, not an end, isn't it? We're not here to build buildings and raise money for buildings. I'm not opposed to that, you understand? But that's not what we're about. That's not really our purpose. That's not really who we are and what we ought to be about the business of doing. In fact, I want to say something else. We're not here just to look attractive on a Sunday morning. You know it? I mean, we want to look attractive on a Sunday morning, don't we? We want to attract people and all that. But that's not the end result, to just be attractive. We are people of a message. We have a message to proclaim, and it is a message that transforms. Now, if that's all true, and I believe it is, and we're busier right now than we've ever been, is that true? I mean, are you honestly can't find something to do here at Sugar Grove? Is that actually right? Am I going to hear anybody stand up and say that? Man, I mean, it's something going on all the time. How come it is that there hadn't been all that many baptisms the last couple of years? Our end result is not just, of course we're going to do good, and worship is going to be all that it can be, but our end result, our end purpose is something else, you know. Karen bought a magazine this month. It's a May 2012 issue of a magazine. And we're both magazine people. And her magazines look a lot different than mine. Mine always have a fish on it, or a deer on it, or a boat on it, something like that. And so I can pick those out clear across the room. Her magazines are just, I don't even see them. They're invisible to me, all right? But this May 2012 issue, I was walking through the living room, and there it was on the coffee table, on the cover, Salma Hayek. That's not a fish. But there she was. And it kind of caught my eye. And I was going to show you the copy of this. And Karen said, no, you can't show that. I said, why? She said, well, it's too much cleavage. And I hadn't really noticed. But Salma Hayek here on the cover. But so I picked it up, and again, they're invisible to me. So I picked it up and I looked inside. First thing I noticed was there's little pages in here. If you peel up the corner of it, it smells like perfume. Did y'all know that? Is that not new? Okay. So then you go to the flyleaf, the inside page, and it says, there's another picture of Salma, and it says, welcome to the beauty and style issue. My lucky day. Starring Salma Hayek. And then it was actually the little subtitle that caught me, or I probably wouldn't have looked at another page. The subtitle says, 45 doesn't look so bad, does it? So I did something I never do. I flipped over to the credits page where it tells you about the pictures. I was going to find a little bit more about this 45 stuff. And there it is. And then you've got a big long column of all the things that went into making this picture. She has a fashion stylist whose name I can't even pronounce. Then you got several lines about her hair. The picture, the pose is, it looks like she just walked out of her front door and into her front yard, and she's just so welcoming and, well, look who's here kind of a look. And just come in and have a cup of coffee kind of look. And this hair by Renato Camporo for Frederick Fekkai Hair Care at the Wall Group. And then you got a bunch of lines for makeup. Makeup, 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 makeup. And then you come down to manicure. And there's more names that I can't pronounce. And then there's a set design. She wasn't in her front yard. She didn't just step out. I mean, she's there. They went through all this stuff to set this all up. In fact, if you look at her carefully, there's a big light behind her hair that makes it really stand out and really, it's just wow. And then we get down to the details. Dress, $2,365. My. Can you believe that? Do they make dresses that cost that much money? $2,365. Gary Reinhardt would look good in a dress like, stand up, Gary. Stand up, Gary. Stand up. Stand up. Okay, maybe not Gary. Maybe not Gary. And by the way, I got a phone number here. If you want that dress, 800-365-7989. You can order that. And then we got pink gold and ruby necklace, $6,900. Also from the Select Neiman and Marcus line. Also the same phone number. And 18-karat gold rock candy bangles, $5,500 each. Earrings, $1,900 each. And here's a question that popped into my head. Is that Salma Hayek on the cover? No. It's an image. And we're living in a culture where image is the whole ball of wax, isn't it? I mean, really. But that's not really Salma Hayek. It's like a lot of churches on a cover. Attraction is not the end goal. Looking good and being good and smelling right. We're not here to attract people. We're not here to particularly over-accommodate a 21st century consumer mentality where you got to meet. I'll go to church if you meet all my needs and you got all this stuff and all that. Is that what we're about? Is that what we're about? End result is, folks, we are people on a mission and we have a message to change people's lives. Jesus didn't come here to feed hungry people. He came to take away our sin. People didn't come here to meet all of our felt needs. Jesus came here to give us purpose and meaning in life. And it's about a message. The real Salma Hayek is, what does she do when she chips one of those manicured nails? Or one of her kids gives her sass. Or her husband forgot to take out the garbage again. Who are we? We're people with a mission. We're people that have a message for a world that needs to hear it. Now, here's my question for you. Why is it so hard for us to stay on that task? Why do we back up and say, oh, soul winning, that's the old term we used to use, right? Outreach, sharing my, and we'll find 800 other things to do before. Is that right or is that just me? Is that just me? Okay. Why is that? Why is that? Well, let me tell you what. There's two ingredients to really staying on focus of what our task is really all about. Because I think that we have a tendency to drift. Would you agree with that? I think we have a tendency to drift away from our task. And you know what? I can't let us do that. I have a tendency to personally drift, and I can't let me do that. And so me and my pain, I'm going to make you miserable with me, all right? So there's two ingredients here to really staying in focus. Here's the first one. You have to know who you are. If we don't know who we are, if we think we're something other than who we really are, we're going to wind up on some other track, we're going to go down some other path. You have to know who you really are. Now hang on here. Here's who we are. Here's who we are collectively. We are the incarnated body of Jesus in this world. That's who we are. I'm going to coin a phrase for you. There's an incarnational reality that we got to live in. We are the incarnate Jesus in this world. Now, there's two passages I want you to hang on to. They say basically the same thing, and Jesus said it both times. He said it 3 days apart. Jesus says something once, it's going to be pretty important, right? But if he says it twice, it's going to be really important. And by the way, the statement bookends the death, burial, and resurrection. He said it the first time on Thursday night before he died. And he said it the second time on Sunday night to his collected disciples. Everybody was there except Judas Iscariot, right? Because he betrayed Jesus and went on another path. He said it again. Whether you're looking at John 17, verse 18, or John 20 and verse 21, Jesus says the same thing. As I have been sent by the Father, so I send you. Now, hang on to that. That verse is weighted. It's the doctrine of God is wrapped up in that verse. The doctrine of Jesus is wrapped up in that. The doctrine of missions is wrapped up in that passage. Let me tell you, God is a God who sins. He is a God who sins. And if you've not caught the message that you are a sent person, if we've not caught the message that we are a sent body, we've missed a very basic fundamental piece of New Testament doctrine. As the Father has sent me, I'm sending you. How did the Father send him? He sent him in the flesh. He sent him in person. Not to proclaim it from the synagogues, hey, all y'all come. But he sent him out into the streets. He sent him out amongst the people. He sent him out to feel their pain and their burden and their brokenness. And he sent him there to claim redemption for creation. That's what the whole thing is about. God is at the business of redeeming creation. As the Father sent me, so I have sent you. Now, we're going to spend a little time just with some theology stuff here, y'all. Because if we don't have theology, well, we don't know what we're doing, right? So we want to ground ourselves firmly in the Word of God. As he sent us, as he sent Jesus, so Jesus sends us to be out among the people. We could be like the Pharisees and just hang behind the walls of the synagogue and say, come on, y'all, come on in here and y'all get right. But that's not how the Father sent the Son. And you and I have been sent the same way He was sent. We are the incarnated body of Christ. The head ascended into heaven, but the body's still here, right? Hands and feet still here, serving, doing whatever. And all those things that we do, whether it's feeding the hungry or whatever it might be, all those things have this goal in mind, that people come to see, hear, grasp the message that changes lives. All right? So first thing we need to do is know who we are. We are the incarnated body of Jesus. We're not here to expand our brand of Christianity. We're here to proclaim Jesus Christ. We are not here. Let me tell you what. Folks are not attracted by theology. They don't care about theology. They need to find something that works, something that brings meaning and purpose into their lives. So we got to know who we are. We're the incarnated body of Jesus, and we need to cut away all the other trappings and understand. That's it, bottom line. Here's the second thing. Love. The only thing that can sustain, now listen to me, the only thing that can sustain incarnational mission is love. Love. Now, I'd like to spend more time with this, but I don't have it. So 2 Corinthians 5, verses 14 through 21, is really it. We talked about that not too long ago. You may not remember it. Shane Brown remembers it when we talked about it. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 14 through 21, where he says, here, let me just summarize it for you. He says, we saw the love of Jesus. And the love of Jesus made us love Him. And when we loved Him, it changed the way we look at people, and we don't look at people the same way anymore. Passion for God leads to compassion for people. The only thing that can sustain it is love. Now look, at the heart of this whole thing, y'all, play along with me right here, is identification. Listen, we have to identify with the world around us. It's not us and them. It's just us. All their faces, the folks that we feed, everybody. What is our service area? Well, it's Meadows Place at least, right? Southwest Houston, it's Richmond Rosenberg, it's Heritage Rose School, it's all that. That's our people. That's our people. Identification. It's not us and them, it's just us. It's just us. I want to say again, we have to see our destiny as wrapped up in the destiny of those people we serve. Same destiny. Same destiny. And what moves us to really get involved with this, you with me on this? What really moves us to do that, again, is not theology. It's not that we got it all worked out and we know that you don't call the preacher pastor or reverend, or it's, and I use that example a lot. I don't mean to. I mean, even good things. Theology is not what brings a Christ-like agony into our mission. Spreading our brand of Christianity is not what brings a weeping, winsome, contrite condition to our testimony. Just because we got some big project here that we're trying to fund, that's not what, rarely does that cause heartbreak in the hearts of people as they reach out to the world around them. What does it is when we see our destiny wrapped up with theirs. That's our people out there. Y'all, that's our people out there. We're being sent as he was sent. And when he was sent, he didn't come down here and say, Lord, their theology is awful. Here's the problem with humanity. Their theology is terrible. He didn't do that. And he also didn't walk out there and say, all right, all of y'all, be cured. He could have done that, I guess, but he didn't do that. He didn't do that at all. What he did was, he embraced our lives. He embraced our brokenness. He embraced our dysfunction. He embraced our idols. He embraced our addictions. And he moved among us. And it was with deep feeling that he did that. Deep feeling. Same thing happened to Paul. Same thing will happen to you when we identify with our people. People do not care about our theology. People don't care about our brand of Christianity. People don't care about our projects. What people have is pain, sin, suffering, shame, disillusionment, dysfunction, addiction. And they want to know that there is somebody, not just somebody, they want to know that there is at the basis of this universe someone who cares, someone who more than cares. Guess who? That's you and me. The incarnated body of Jesus. As he was sent, so we have been sent. And I want to tell you, when we identify like that, now y'all hang on with me here just quick. When we identify with people like that, you all of a sudden have the authority to speak to their anguish. They'll listen to you. Huh? We stay behind the walls. We're just separated. It's us and them. But if we are sent as he was sent, then all of a sudden they have you remember the Kevin Costner movie, Field of Dreams? Build it and they will come. Well, we've tried that, haven't we? Is it working? How's that working? It's not working. It's not ever going to work again. It used to work at one time in our culture. It does not work, and it will not ever in our lifetime work again. But let me tell you the truth. Identify, and they will listen. And I think that and there's a fellow up in Manhattan, his name is John Tyson, kind of opened up my head to what I'm about to say. And you may not agree with me here, but let me just say this with you. I believe that America is in decline. I don't mean that as a political statement. It's not about the president that we have. It's been for a long while. We're just on and we can talk about that sometime, but that's not what I'm here. I believe America's in radical decline. And Christianity, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the influence of Christianity is fading. It is fading from culture. We used to be right at the center of society, but it's not that way any longer. Hadn't been for a long time. What does America need? What do our people need in the face of radical decline and in the face of a diminished influence of Christianity? Does it need something new from Willow Creek? Does it need edition number 2 of the purpose-driven life? And I'm not opposed to those things. We did purpose-driven life. You remember that? Is that what it is? Is that Is that what it is? Does it need us to get all heaped up on our brand of, our flavor of Christian? Is that what it needs? Does it need some project, some big vision, some visionary to come up here and whip us into line on some big, huge project? No, there's no magic bullet. You know what it needs? It needs people that see the world as us, our people. Now, this is burdening me. Richard and I have had some conversations over the last several months, and I don't know what, I'm going to tell you, I don't know what God is trying to say to me, but I am burdened about what I'm doing with my life, what I'm doing with my time, what I'm doing with this church. And I think what we're talking about this morning is at the heart of it. This is where our purpose is. This is where meaning is, exactly how all of that looks. And we're going to talk about some more of this next week. But I want to tell you, the answer is people that are burdened with their world around them. Passion for God that leads to compassion for people. Now you look, I don't know what's working with you this morning. I don't know what's going on. But I tell you, here's how the response is today. Here's how it flows today. Just examine. What are you doing? Why are we here? Did God just call us here to come to church on Sunday and sing a few songs and then go out and do whatever? If there's any way we can serve you, we want to know how to do that as we stand and sing.
Let the beauty of Jesus be seen in me. All his wonderful passion and purity. May his Spirit divine all my being refine. Let the beauty of Jesus be seen in me. When somebody has been so unkind to you, some word spoken that pierces you through and through. Think how he was beguiled, spat on and reviled. Let the beauty of Jesus be seen in you. From the dawn of the morning to close of day, in example, in deeds, and in all you say, lay your gifts at his feet, ever strive to keep sweet.